can't have a girls' team at Jack London. We can barely afford the boys' team. Why do you think we're having a bake sale?
Julie took a deep breath. Not the girls' team. The boys' team. Coach Manley sat up. She had his full attention now.
Let me get this straight, he said slowly. You want me to put you on the boys' basketball team?
Julie nodded, her heart pounding. Coach Manley smiled and shook his head.
Young lady, the basketball team is for boys and boys only. Got that?
I'm as good as the boys, Julie said softly. Just give me a chance to try out, please.
Sorry. Answer's N-O, no. This is my team, and I make the rules. When spring rolls around, we'll have some intramural games. Softball, tetherball, badminton. Maybe you can play one of those.
Julie shook her head. That's not the same. She flushed and looked down at the floor, embarrassed to meet his eyes. A strange new feeling washed over her. It felt like a mixture of shame, frustration, and an emotion she couldn't quite identify. She glanced up at the coach. He had turned back to his desk, signaling that it was time for her to leave. Her instinct was to run out of his office and never see him again. But something kept her feet firmly planted to the floor. Finally, Coach Manley looked up.
I have work to do. This conversation is finished.
Julie felt her insides go all runny, like the yellow belly of a breakfast egg. As she turned to go, hot tears smarted at the back of her eyes. Julie swallowed hard, pushing back her fear. If there's not a basketball team for girls at this school, you have to let a girl play on the boys' team, she told the coach, her voice shaking. I read it in the newspaper.
Did the paper say I don't have to do anything I don't want to do? Case closed. Out of my office.
It's the law, Julie whispered, backing away.
Well, I have a news flash for you, young lady. In this gym, I'm the law.
Coach Manley towered over Julie as he leaned across the desk toward her.
Now, do I have to call the principal to escort you out of here? Or will you leave on your...
Julie didn't wait to hear the rest. She fled. She ran all the way home, wind biting her ears and stinging her cheeks. At Glad Rags, Mom and Tracy had newspapers spread across the table and counter in the back, and they were gluing beads and buttons onto blank white lampshades. Hi, honey, said Mom. I was telling your sister all about Career Day. You just missed some girls from your class. I've already had 3 new customers since my talk today. Julie wondered if they were the water fountain girls. That's great, Mom. What's wrong with you? Asked Tracy. Your face is as red as a beet. Wait, said Julie, looking at the table where they were working. Are these all the newspapers from last week? Thursday or Friday? I have to find something, she said frantically, lifting up corners of the newspaper and peering at headlines. Here it is. She flipped the paper over to the inside of the sports section, careful to avoid getting stuck with glue, and pointed to the headline. High school girl tackles boys, school board. See? This girl wasn't allowed to play on the school football team, so she went to court. She won, and they had to let her play because of this new law. Oh, yeah. We learned about that in civics class, said Tracy. They passed some big federal law to make things more equal. I believe it's called Title IX, said Mom. But what does this have to do with you, Julie? It's a basketball coach at school, Julie explained. He won't let me play on the team because I'm a girl. He's a male chauvinist pig, said Tracy. Tracy? Mom sounded a little shocked. Where did you hear that? Some people in tennis called Bobby Riggs a male chauvinist pig because he thought Billie Jean King couldn't beat him, Tracy replied. Then she trounced him in a big match and proved that girls can be just as good as boys in sports. Look, honey, said Mom, smoothing out Julie's hair. I don't see why you shouldn't be allowed to play on the team, if that's what you really want. Let's talk this over with your dad when he gets back next week. I already talked to Dad about it, and even he doesn't want me to play on the boys' team, Julie told her. But they don't have a girls' team. Besides, tryouts for all the positions are this week. Next week will be too late. Julie grabbed the page with the article and rushed up to her room. She scooped up her basketball and bounced it against the wall. Thwomp, thwomp. She knew Mom didn't like her bouncing it in the house, but the satisfying thump of the ball helped ease the bundled-up feelings inside her. Nobody ever asked her what she wanted. Divorce, thwomp. Moving, thwomp. Changing schools and leaving Ivy, thwomp, thwomp, thwomp. This morning, her horoscope had said, "Create your own future by taking charge." Well, taking charge was what she was trying to do. Julie stopped bouncing the ball and sat up straight. She wasn't going to give up, and they couldn't make her. Chapter 5. Let Girls Play Too. The rest of the week at school seemed to drag on forever. On Friday, Julie was standing in front of her locker at the end of the day when she overheard the water fountain girls whispering to each other. "Shh, there she is. She's the one," said Allison. "The one what?" asked Angela. Or was it Amanda? "Can you believe it?" said Allison. She actually asked Coach Manley if she could be on the boys' basketball team. "She's a tomboy," Amanda and Angela hissed, saying the word too loud on purpose. Julie froze. She stuck her head deeper into her locker, pretending to look for her reading workbook. A voice came up behind her. "Just ignore them. You're good at basketball." Julie pulled her head out of her locker and smiled gratefully at TJ. "Does Coach Manley already have his team picked out?" she asked. "Nope. He's still choosing positions. I'm keeping my fingers crossed I'm a starter. Wish me luck." "Luck," Julie said longingly, waving goodbye to TJ. Saturday morning, Julie was reading her horoscope. Don't hesitate. Today's the day to jump in. When she heard Ivy's knock. "You're here," Julie said, leading her friend into the living room. The two girls pushed boxes into the corner so that Ivy could show Julie her latest floor routine. "Did you know Olga Corbett was the first person to do a backward aerial somersault on the balance beam?" Ivy asked, as she turned her handstand into a back limber. Julie tried to copy the move, but as soon as she got into a handstand, her feet clomped to the floor. "Girls!" called Mom. "What's going on? Sounds like a stampede of elephants in there. Julie, please tell me you're not bouncing that basketball inside." "Don't worry, Mom," said Julie. "It's just handstands." "Well, I don't want you two breaking your necks either. Why don't you run down to the deli and get us some lunch meat for sandwiches, and we can have lunch in the shop? I have lots of new beads, if you'd like to make bracelets." "Ooh, beads," said Ivy. "Sure, Mom," said Julie. As the girls walked down the hill toward Haight Street, Julie told Ivy all about Coach Manley and the basketball team. "After the coach wouldn't let me on the team, Tracy called him a pig," Julie confided. "Whoa, I'd get in big trouble if I ever called a grown-up a pig," said Ivy. "Not a pig, a male chauvinist pig. It's some big fancy word she learned from a tennis match. It means when boys think they're better than girls." "I don't see why you'd want to play on a team with only creepy boys anyway," said Ivy. "They have smelly feet like pigs. Oink, oink." Julie and Ivy pressed their noses into snouts and couldn't stop snorting and giggling. At the corner, while they waited for the walk sign, Julie saw Hank. He was carrying a clipboard, going up to cars stopped at the light, and talking to drivers through their car windows. "Hey," said Ivy, "let's not cross here. Let's go down to the next light." But the market's right there, said Julie. I know, but I don't think we should walk past that guy, said Ivy, pointing to Hank. He's weird. He looks like a troll with all that orange hair. Oh, that's just Hank. He's a friend of my mom's. I say hi to him all the time. I'm not supposed to talk to any strangers, said Ivy. Hank's not a stranger. Besides, Mom said I should be nice to him because he's one of those guys that was in the war. A Vietnam vet, Julie explained. She says it's really hard when you've seen so many terrible, horrible things. Some people just can't get over it. Well, I don't know, said Ivy. The light changed, and Julie took Ivy's hand as they crossed the street. Ivy switched to Julie's other side so that she wouldn't have to walk by Hank. But he had already spotted Julie. Hey, how's Lincoln, Nebraska? He called. Great, Julie called back. I aced my test. Way to go, said Hank, meeting up with Julie on the far side of the street and slapping her a high five. Who's your sidekick? This is my friend Ivy from my old neighborhood, said Julie. We're going to the market to get stuff for lunch. Are you coming by the shop later? No, not today. Too busy. He held out his clipboard. I still need 81 more signatures. Signatures? For what? Julie asked. For my petition, said Hank. Even Ivy was curious. A petition? She asked. We're trying to get them to open the Veterans Center again. That's where all of us vets used to hang out. We like to go there to chew the fat and play cards, but the center was real important. For some of the homeless guys, it was the only meal they got all day, and the only place they had to clean up and stay in out of the rain. What happened to it? Asked Julie. Same old, same old. Budget cuts. City said they didn't have enough money to keep it open. Hank shook his head. But we're not giving up. If we each get 150 signatures, we can take it to the bigwigs at the next Board of Supervisors meeting, and they have to open the issue back up for discussion. I sure hope you get enough signatures, said Ivy. Can anybody make a petition? Asked Julie. Sure, said Hank. It's a great way to get people to pay attention to your issue. And even if they said no about something, the petition might get them to change their minds? Yep, that's what it's all about, said Hank. Well, I got a book, he said, tapping his clipboard. Check you later. Bye, Mr. Hank, Ivy waved. See you later, alligator, called Julie. As the girls ate their sandwiches, all Julie could think about was starting her own petition. After lunch, while Ivy began stringing glass beads to make a bracelet, Julie drew columns on paper with TJ's ruler and numbered the lines up to 150, just like Hank's petition. Come on, Julie, said Ivy. Don't you want to make bracelets? I'm going to make one for every day of the week. Not right now, said Julie. I'm making a petition. After all, her horoscope had said today was the day to jump in. So that's what she was doing. Julie wrote, "Let girls play too," across the top of the page, and drew basketballs and high-top sneakers in the margins. When she was done, she put on her roller skates. Hey, where are you going? I'm only up to Wednesday, said Ivy. We can make bracelets any time, said Julie, waving her papers in the air. Come on, I need your help to get people to sign my petition. Ivy put down her beads and trudged out the door after Julie, calling, Wait up! Julie stopped at the corner. Let's go ask that lady carrying the groceries across the street. For real? You're just gonna walk right up to a perfect stranger and start talking to them? And tell them you want to be on a boys' basketball team? Julie felt her stomach do a nervous flip-flop. Maybe Ivy was right. Could she work up the courage to just walk right up to a total stranger? Please, Ivy, just come with me. I don't think my parents would like me doing this, Ivy said. Julie couldn't help wondering what her dad would say if he knew she was starting her own petition. She pushed the thought out of her mind. Just help me get started, she pleaded. I'll do all the talking, and if you don't like it, we can go home. I promise. Ivy bit her lip. She did not look happy, but she followed her friend across the street. Excuse me, Julie called to the lady, who was putting groceries into her trunk. She held out her clipboard for the woman to see. Would you like to sign my petition, so I can be on the basketball team at my school?
Sorry, not interested,
said the lady, looking annoyed. See? What did I tell you? Ivy mumbled. Let's try that man coming out of the bakery, said Julie. Hello, would you like to sign my petition?
I'm in a hurry, said the man. Good luck.
Boy, he didn't even give me a chance to say what it's for, said Julie, trying not to feel discouraged. How about that lady with the stroller? Maybe she likes kids, Ivy said. Julie skated up to the lady and started off with, Oh, what a cute baby. Thanks, said the lady, beaming. Julie held out her clipboard and explained her petition as the lady rocked the stroller back and forth. It's about time they started letting girls play the same sports boys get to play, said the lady. Where do I sign? Thanks a lot, said Julie. You're my first signature. I can see that. Well, best of luck to you. She was nice, Julie told Ivy. Good. Now can we go back and finish making bracelets? Ivy, that's only one signature. I need to get 150. Ivy stopped. 150? That could take a year. Come on, it's not that bad. At least let me get a few more. Hey, there's Hank. I bet he'll sign it. Julie skated all over the neighborhood with Ivy trudging loyally behind. Every time the girls passed someone, Julie stopped and talked about her petition. Each time, it was like stepping out on stage at a school play, worrying she'd trip over a prop or forget her lines. But for every few people who wouldn't sign or didn't want to be bothered, Julie would find one who agreed with her. Finally, Julie had almost one full column of signatures. She held up the clipboard triumphantly. Look, let's get just a few more. You've been saying that for hours, said Ivy. Why can't we go back now and play Clue, or listen to Tracy's records, or do something fun? I can't believe you think this is boring, said Julie. We've been doing this all afternoon, Ivy complained. I hardly ever get to see you anymore, and I thought we were going to have fun. Julie looked down at her petition. She had collected 17 signatures plus 3 blisters on her feet. She still had 133 more signatures to go. Well, it's not dark yet, so I'm staying out a little longer. But you promised, said Ivy. You said if I helped you get started, we could go home. Julie threw her hands up in exasperation. Don't you want my petition to work? You're my best friend. Don't you care if I get to play on the team? Ivy shrugged. Not if it means we have to keep doing this. Julie spun around to face her friend. How can you be so selfish? Because you think playing basketball with a bunch of dumb old boys is more important than being friends with me. Ivy turned and stomped off. Where are you going? Called Julie, skating after her. What do you care? Asked Ivy. Ivy's back was stiff as she stormed straight up the hill, faster than Julie could follow on skates. What about our sleepover? Julie called after her. But Ivy turned the corner and disappeared from sight. The next day, Julie woke up exhausted. Her legs ached, and her head felt as heavy as a bowling ball. Her first thought was that she should be having strawberry whipped cream waffles with her used-to-be best friend Ivy at that very minute. Instead, she sat up in bed and blinked back hot, angry tears. Why was Ivy being so stubborn? Why couldn't she understand? What if somebody had told her she couldn't do gymnastics anymore? Suddenly, Julie felt furious at everything. If her parents hadn't divorced, she wouldn't have had to move. If she hadn't moved, she wouldn't be going to a new school with a basketball team that didn't allow girls. She'd have spent her Saturday at the Y with Ivy, instead of asking people to sign a stupid petition. The petition! Julie leaped up and snatched the clipboard from her desk. She yanked out the first sheet, the one with all the signatures, and whoot! She ripped the page right in half and threw it on the floor. Julie pulled on sweats and sneakers, grabbed her basketball, and ran outside. She dribbled. Bam, bam, bam. Hard and fast against the sidewalk.
Hey, you're gonna wear a hole in the sidewalk, sport,
called Hank, walking up Redbud Street. Julie turned away and kept dribbling. Hank set down his coffee and bagel bag, came up behind Julie, and stole the ball right out from under her. Hey! Julie chased after Hank, who dribbled down the sidewalk and juked right, then left, trying to fake her out. He spun into a driveway and lobbed up a hook shot as he passed under a rusty basketball rim attached above the garage. Nice shot, said Julie, forgetting her mood. She scooped up the rebound and went for a layup herself.
Back at ya,
said Hank. They played hoops for several minutes, until Hank flopped down on the curb.
Haven't had my coffee, or I'd be able to keep up with you, he teased.
Julie perched on her ball, catching her breath.
So how's the petition going, sport? You on that basketball team yet?
Huh, Julie snorted. I don't even care about that anymore. It's too hard getting signatures, and they'll never let me on the team anyway. And besides, I lost my best friend over it, she said in one breath.
Oh, so you don't mind not being on the team then?
Julie shrugged. Doesn't matter. It's too late anyway. I ripped up the petition. Hank raised his eyebrows, but said nothing. He gathered up his coffee and bagel and started to leave, then turned back to Julie.
Hey, you remember President Nixon?
Sort of. I remember when he resigned from being president, Julie said. She also remembered her parents arguing about him, but she didn't say that. Hank nodded.
Well, I sure wasn't his biggest fan, but I remember he once said, "A man isn't finished when he's defeated. He's finished when he quits."
With that, Hank turned and headed up the street. Julie went back up to her room and stared at the torn petition. She desperately wanted to be Ivy's friend again. But what would Ivy think if she knew Julie had torn up the very signatures she had dragged Ivy along for hours to get? Maybe Hank was right. What would she gain by giving up now? Pushing the two halves back together, Julie smoothed out her petition, then opened her desk drawer and took out some tape. Now Julie carried the petition with her everywhere she went. She talked to people on her way to school. She asked the teachers, librarian, and school nurse if they'd sign. And she spent every free minute after school going up and down the neighborhood, asking every person who would stop and listen to sign her petition. But it just wasn't the same without Ivy. When a lady with a parrot on her shoulder signed the petition, and the parrot mimicked, "Sign here, sign here," Julie knew Ivy would have split her sides laughing. And when she reached 100 signatures, she had no best friend to jump up and down with. The next day after school, Julie sank into a chair without even taking off her coat. She banged her clipboard down on the workroom table. "Why the long face?" asked Mom. "I've been out there with my petition for over an hour, and not one single person would sign it today." "Anytime you try to change something, it's going to be difficult," Mom said gently. "Not everybody thinks girls should play sports. A lot of people think games like football and basketball are just for boys." "But that's not fair," said Julie. "I know, honey. All I'm saying is it can take a while for people to change their thinking. There was a time, only about 50 years ago, when people didn't even think women should be allowed to vote. It took a lot of hard work for that to change." I know, said Julie with a sigh. She stared glumly at the floor. I miss Ivy, though. It's not as fun without her. I bet she misses you, too, said Mom. You're just going to have to give it a little time. Chapter 6. Dumpsters and Hoopsters. Thursday morning, Julie woke up early with a tingling of excitement. She dressed and ate quickly. If she hurried, she could get the last 3 signatures on her way to school. By the time Julie turned the corner at the bakery, she was almost running with eagerness to get to school, and Coach May. But she paused when she saw Hank drinking coffee through the bakery window. She walked over and pressed her clipboard up against the window. She held up 1 finger, then 5 fingers, then made a 0 with her thumb and index finger. 1, 5, 0.